Welcome back to another episode of Melanin Minds, empowering Black women creators. And today we have a really awesome guest. Um, so this guest is somebody I've been waiting to meet. And while she is an artist, the reason why she's on a comic book podcast is because she works behind the scenes with some comic books, with Concrete Comics. She does their designs, their websites, logos, all that really cool stuff. So if you really love the designs that Concrete Comics has, this is the woman you have to thank for all those amazing designs. But on top of that, she's an extremely talented artist in her own right, with her art murals and her clothes, where she gives you wearable art, and it's all just absolutely beautiful. And so today our guest is Amber Koko Allen.
Hi.
Right.
Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited.
Thank you. One of these days we need to actually get together and
Face to
hang
face
out or something, right?
Yes.
The boys have gotten to do it already.
I know.
They just be doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that was good enough. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, that was a beautiful introduction. I was very impressed with myself.
That's good. Well, then in that case, we're just going to get to our first question, which of course is you telling us about your journey as a Black woman creative and how it's impacted the work that you do.
So, thinking back to little old me, I was 5 years old in kindergarten with a dream. My kindergarten teacher gave us a self-portrait assignment, and I drew myself, and I was very decked out. Like, me thinking about this outfit, I was like in a rainbow colored dress. I had bows in my hair, a lot of self-confidence and empowerment through a little 5-year-old girl drawing a self-portrait. And that teacher was like, you have a talent in art and drawing. And I, of course, didn't know anything about that until somebody pointed it out. I'm like, huh. So at that point, I was like, I want to be an artist. That's what I want to do. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I already was an artist, but I was just nurturing the artist in me and my mission in the arts, right?
Right.
Along the way. So I guess my journey kind of went in and out. I practiced drawing until I got to high school. I went to college in Pennsylvania. I got my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree with the emphasis in graphic design. So I was on my way, right? And that's where I met Lonzo, or I don't call him Lonzo, I call him Derek because that's his name. But he likes Lonzo, Concrete, all of that. And, that was my college sweetheart. And
I didn't know that.
And after you didn't know that, see?
I didn't know you were college sweetheart.
College, yep. And he was doing his music. I was doing my art stuff. And I graduated, did my first art show, or was on top of the world, came home, and I found out I was pregnant. And so my journey paused in the art world. I went back for education, but I always had that art background. And then was probably 2019, I'm like, I'm going to build my brand again after we built back everything. I went back to school, we got married, bought our house, all the things that I needed to check off, we did. And then I'm like, I'm getting back to my brand. I'm getting back to my dream, because I know that there's a reason why I had that dream. And all of that experience of, coming out of college, feeling like a failure, building my life back together is actually the reasoning and the mission behind my brand.
You just inspired me. The similarities are wild.
Really? Oh, I would love to know that.
Inspiration. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that being said, how do you see your art as a tool for activism and social change?
So it's funny because as an artist and an educator, I just had this conversation. I was like, I don't think of myself, because now I'm trying to blend the arts back into education as well. I don't think of myself as an arts activist, but in some way I am. And I know that my mission is a form of activism, but I never considered it activism until like maybe 2 days ago when I had that conversation. And now when I'm speaking to you. So it's kind of funny that everything kind of aligns, right?
Right.
So I know that my brand and my mission stems behind that feeling like a failure, but having a dream and wanting other women and other people to see that they can do whatever they put their mind to. Your life is a journey and you can decide what you want to do with it. You can empower yourself. You have a dream, live it. Go for it. There's might be obstacles, but don't stop, And I think I try to live that in just me pushing my art dreams to the farthest extent that I can. So in that form, it's activism, as well as the type of art that I do. The Black woman is the center of it, and it started from when I was a 5-year-old drawing my self-portrait. I feel like we have a lot of things that go against us, so everything I would want to bring to the world highlights the beauty of what we are. So in that way, it's activism. And then, the education side is just a whole nother level.
Right. I really forgot you were in education, which again is crazy because I worked in the school in the after school program, and my mother's a teacher. And so even though I don't have like an education degree or anything, because as much as I love kids and working with kids, just it wasn't education, like being a teacher never felt like one of my callings, but I still want to implement stuff and like the arts into the school. Right. And so like that's where the whole thing of us trying to bring comics into the schools came from me. And I used to have a nonprofit called the Heart Movement, which was about art in your heart. So HE and then capital ART for art. And it just never really came full circle. It fell through years ago, and so now here we are using comics to try to pick that same thing back up. So it's just so interesting. Again, the similarities. It's crazy.
That's awesome. See, we're learning about each other, and we didn't even realize how much we had in common. Right. But we knew, but we didn't know.
Exactly. And then the other reason, because I was like, I know you did the mural, the gorgeous mural for Black History Month at the art show, which I guess technically ties into the next comment. So I bring that up. I should probably do the next question with it, which I know the answer. Have you ever done a project where you use your art to advocate for a cause or raise awareness about an issue?
Yeah. So that whole thing was kind of wild. Like it literally happened in maybe a month span where somebody wrote me on Instagram and said, hey, we love your art. And sometimes you get those spam people and you're like, oh, I don't know what this is. But I showed Derek and he's like, oh no, this is Center City, Philadelphia. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So they were like, we saw your work. They found me because I did the Black Girl Art Show in Philadelphia. I did it twice last year. And they found me. They just went literally through a list of artists and found my work and said, this matches we're having a Black History Month celebration. We want to honor you. We would love to have a piece of your artwork in our window. And you have clothes, so why don't you sell it and be a vendor that day?
Right.
So, I feel like that moment was like, almost like, I think that's the biggest form where I'm showing it in such a honor, like I'm being honored and they're talking about my story and I'm, sharing that journey a little bit through my piece. So, if you see my artwork, it is, so going back to pregnant me, freshly graduated from college, I started my first series called the Metamorphosis series that highlighted just a Black woman's profile. And it was kind of my therapy of just letting out my feelings at that moment. And it's a series of 4 different pictures. The first one is just highlighting how the negative thoughts and emotions I had in my mind. Second one is like a transition. If you see it, you would see the visual of this. The third one was like the metamorphosis, like in a cocoon and a butterfly. Same with the profiles, but the black and white figures are changing. And the end is the profiles with the butterfly. So that was me projecting from struggle and difficulty that my life is going to be beautiful. This is what's going to happen for me, and I'm projecting it through my art. Now coming to this piece where my art is more colorful because the beauty of life, and because I've overcome so many obstacles and trials, and I'm just at a different place in my life. I feel like that is a culmination of everything that I have been, I guess, painting and creating. It was like all the colors, but also had that black and white element, if you have seen it. And I entitled that piece Radiant Resilience because, I feel like in your journey, you're going to have beautiful moments, but you're also going to have to be resilient and fight whatever is coming your way. And it's all beautiful at the end. It's all a part of your story and your journey. So that kind of highlights that. And I got to share it with so many people. I don't know how many people were at the event, but it was packed. Probably maybe 200 or more people were there. And I got to share that with them. So that was a really amazing moment.
Wow. Jesus, that's beautiful. I see you also like alliteration.
Yes.
Everyone understands. Alliteration is awesome. Okay.
It is.
It's nothing like having like 2 words or a title or a full sentence where just every word starts with the same letter. It forces you to be creative, guys.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
I'm glad I'm not alone here. So that being said, then I want to ask our next question, which is, why is representation important in the arts, particularly as a Black woman?
I think there's so many things. Our culture, the way we express ourselves, the way we dress, the way our hair is. I think everything about us is art, So one of my statements is make her feel like art, because I feel like as Black women, we are the art, and we also create it, and we are like the starters of everything. Like, we influence so much in the art world, and it should be recognized. So I think that's kind of where it stems from.
Wow. I couldn't agree more. They say our hair defies gravity.
Mm-hmm.
All that gravity, keep trying to pull my hair up. I got to put a scarf on for 8 hours to make it look flat. Like, otherwise it's going to be sticking up all over the place.
Exactly. So, like, that is art in itself.
Right. Compare our hair to like trees, like really full trees and clouds and all that kind of stuff. Like, that is art.
Yeah.
It's such a perfect way to put it. Mm-hmm. Art is important for Black women because we are art. Yeah. And so because of that, next question, what are some challenges you faced as a Black woman creative or artist, and how have you overcome them personally?
So I guess in terms of marketing is where I struggled. That's where I struggled the most. I think I've learned that not all platforms are made for us to succeed. And there's a lot of blocking of our creativity in some platforms, social media platforms. So when you're trying to reach bigger audiences and you're using hashtags, those hashtags are all bots, things like that, so it kind of, I know that some of my page has severely been diminished for that reason. So I think that is the hardest part, marketing. But, over time, I'm realizing it's not about the biggest audience. It's about the people that see you, that are connecting to your stuff, and making sure that your message is reaching the right people. So even though I don't have a huge following, I think just the response that I get from the people that see me is what's most important right now. But I think that is the hardest thing, and just finding, I feel like we don't know what resources are out there for us as well. So grants and things like that, I feel like some of that is stuff that I would love to learn more about, and I'm diving deeper into, just so I can fund my dream, So I think that is the most difficult, definitely.
Right. And I need to share some of those with you as I find them, because this year already starting off has been a journey of finding and applying for grants, and applying for like at least one grant every single day. And I've seen plenty of grants out there for Black women artists in particular. So I need to be sending some of those to you.
Well, I appreciate it.
And it's also funny because I literally maybe 10, 15 minutes before we popped on was watching a video on Instagram about how Meta is going to now be blocking creators who share political content. But the question was, what does political content mean, especially on a platform like Meta, where, it's hate speech if you clap back at a racist, but the racist can say whatever they want and be fine. And essentially the thought process is now, and a lot of people are agreeing when they really look into the underlying what's being said, the fine print is essentially, if you're trying to push anyone who is already normally in a marginalized community, that's political content. And so those kinds of things essentially are going to get your platform demonetized. Your content won't be pushed out anymore, and all those kinds of things. And it's just like, it's crazy, especially in an election year.
Yeah.
How they are trying to silence the voices of people who matter most.
That is crazy, actually. Censorship. Wow.
Absolutely. Just
wow.
But I can't say I'm very surprised. But with everything, oh, you about to say something?
Yeah, I was just thinking more onto that too. Like, I feel like lately I've been seeing also, not just in the art realm, it's just, certain areas of just life, it's harder for us, like housing, mortgage companies, like appraisals, like my treatment in the hospital, having a baby. I feel like all of these things I've been thinking about, I haven't put it into my art yet, but I'm like, I think that's going to come up, because I feel like there's so much that I'm still unpacking after some of those things. And I feel like the last maybe 2 to 3 years, these are things that have occurred with me. And I'm like, what can I do to shine light on some of this as well, using my art?
Right. And I know I had some stuff that I wrote specifically about having children, and we could have a whole nother hour-long conversation about Black treatment in the hospitals, in the medical field, and childbirth. But because of that, can you share a moment where you felt that your art had a tangible impact on the community?
So what I notice is, when I explain, if I'm like just being anywhere, I feel like, and somebody sees my art is not always, you don't see all the underlying messages that I'm trying to portray just looking at it. So a lot of people ask me, what is this about? What inspired you? And I feel that because my art is so connected to my story, but a lot of other people resonate with that same story of struggle to living a dream, to building the life that you want to, dealing with different emotions that, you are coming across in life due to whatever happens to you. I feel like that is where I connect the most with people, and it resonates with people and they're touched by it. I'm thinking back to even I had done, I was a part of this future craft vision board workshop with Crown Magazine. And I had done my vision board, and so many people were drawn to it for whatever reason. And on one part of it, I had words that resonated with me a certain way. I can't even remember what it said. And somebody came up to me and said, that touched me, but it touched her in a different way, right? It hit her in a different way because of whatever was going on in her situation. And I'm like, even in just a vision board, people are still connecting to the message that I'm portraying for myself and feeling it for themselves. And that's the same thing that I feel through my visual arts as well. So I feel like it's just a connection, making connections and helping people, empowering people to keep living and be empowered despite whatever's happening in their lives.
I know there are impacts me just seeing it on social media.
Oh, thank you.
And it makes something else. It looks so amazing. Like even your vision boards, like your vision board looked like a piece of art in itself. And I remember when you did that vision board with Crown Magazine, which leads into the next question, which would be, how do you collaborate with other creatives to amplify your message? And what role does that play? What role does your community play in that creative process?
Yeah, I think that moment, you know, you don't realize who's watching you, right? You don't know who's being inspired by you. You might have the smallest amount of views, but that one person, you don't know who they are. So that opportunity that I had to go fly to LA and be a part of that Future Craft event was because somebody was being inspired by my vision boards. And that event was inspired by me tagging Crown Magazine in my vision board process for like about 3 years, right? So I feel like you don't know who's watching, and to keep creating, because you don't know what impact that you're leaving on people. So that me inspiring them to do that event inspired me to keep going with my vision boards. And then I was able to connect with Black girls in art spaces, and start the New Jersey chapter. We did a tour of Morris Museum. They had, there's a Black arts organization called Art in the Atrium in New Jersey. And they have different shows and they amplify Black artists. And so we got to tour that legacy. It was about legacy of our people. And then following that, I did a legacy building workshop with Black girls, all ages. And that was my really first time saying, okay, I'm really sitting down and empowering somebody to think about their story. It's not just me passively sharing my story. Now I'm creating the environment. I'm creating this workshop to have them do the same thing. So I think that is my biggest moment for sure.
Wow. I love it. I absolutely love it. And so thinking back on all the things you've done and the collabs and all that kind of stuff, what are your hopes and goals for the future of your art and its impact on your audience?
I definitely want to continue and expand my message. You know, I have a lot of things that I work on. I feel like my gift and my problem is I can do a lot of things. So I want to continue with my wearable art. My wearable art is meant to inspire. I literally take my pieces where I'm empowering myself and putting that same thing into clothing so that I'm wearing the empowerment too. And I'm feeling good and looking good and dreaming bigger while doing it. So I want to continue building that piece, my wearable art collections, and, you know, hopefully start having my clothing in different boutiques and in different places selling that. I just want to continue making an impact. I think that's my biggest motivation. My whole purpose, I feel, is to empower people using my voice, my story, and my art. So if I could do that through clothing, if I can do that through my fine arts pieces, if I could do that through my services, building other brands, that's what I want to do.
Wow. So then what advice would you give to other Black women creatives who want to use their art for activism or social change?
I guess I would say, I think my hardest thing was pinpointing my mission. Once I was clear about my mission and what I wanted my art to do, is when everything else came about for me. I've been doing this since before college, trying to build my brand and get my voice out there. But it wasn't truly until I pinpointed what my mission was that I knew where to go with it. So that would be my first step. Know what your message is, what your mission is, and gear your creativity to that.
And that definitely applies in a lot of different spaces. We're in a class right now to help us do better business-wise. And that's literally like the number one thing is, what is the mission? What is the mission? And then what is the target audience? Like, once you know those two things, everything else will fall into place, business-wise, of course. But then artistically, you have a target audience to inspire Black girls and Black women to use their voice. That's the important thing, is really knowing your mission, honing in on that why. That's what the why. What is your why?
Exactly.
Find that, and everything else will come.
Because before I was just creating. But I think that's important too. If you need to just create and then figure out what it is that your mission is while you're creating too. Right. It just depends on where you are in your journey. I feel like I was creating, but my journey was leading me to this because my life reflects what I'm creating. So, don't get hard on yourself if you don't feel like you're getting the results you want right away. It's all a process. So that would be my second thing. Your mission, and embrace the process.
Yes, embrace the journey, because man, it is hard sometimes.
It is hard.
I want to go up there and do one of those tours. I'm from New York, but I have never been to Jersey. We don't go to Jersey.
No.
I'm like, there's so many nice
I don't blame you.
museums and stuff over there that maybe we could visit to go see some of these nice places.
Yeah, but when you have New York and all these places, it's like, why go there? But there are some cool
Expand your horizons.
There is some nice things here, I would say that. Definitely, for sure. But once I left Jersey, I'm like, oh, there's so much more culture. I feel like some of it gets lost unless you're in certain areas. I'm very in nowhere's land, so it's hard.
Yes. I guess it's also, of course, about where you are, guys. So, can you share a Black woman artist or activist, or a Black woman who's made a difference in any kind of way, who inspires you, and why?
So there is this artist, she does wearable art as well. And I didn't know about her until I started doing it myself and promoting. And then I guess the algorithm was like, here's somebody that does something like you. And her Instagram's called ABL Creations. And it's somebody, I've never seen anybody do this. She had a similar story where she was just making art, but it wasn't hitting the way she wanted to, and started putting her artwork on head wraps and stuff, and she's blown up from there. And she also sends like a lot of empowerment messages and things like that, of keep going and all the things that I aspire to be as well. So I'm like, it's good to see somebody who's doing something that, that I'm aspiring to do as well and doing it well. She's had really awesome collaborations with, I think, just big names. So I'm like, I would love to do that in the future.
Right. It's always great to find other like-minded creators who even are doing something similar to you, because the whole point, collaboration is a big deal. Collaborate with those in the same space. I think a lot of people try to make things a competition,
right,
when you're in the same field per se, but it doesn't have to be.
No.
I think when we share, and if we have similar ideas, if we work together, then it just makes those ideas even better.
Yeah, it's more powerful for sure. So when I see her doing her thing, I'm like, yes, I could do it too, and I think that's, always a reason why, us Black women, we always want to inspire the next generation as well. We want little girls to see us and be inspired and know that they can do that just like we are.
Exactly. And so that was the last one. And so we're going to do our Women's History Fact of the Day, which is Maggie Lena Walker broke race and gender barriers as the first woman to establish and serve as president of a U.S. bank. You want to know what bank? Look it up. I keep saying. These are meant to make you do your research, to learn something new. That's why we don't, put Rosa Parks, because we all know the story at this point.
Yes.
Trying to put lesser known people at the forefront. But it's funny that these always kind of line up as her breaking race and gender barriers, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to break those barriers, inspire other Black women to also break those barriers.
Yes.
I think it's important that we all keep doing what we're doing. You keep doing what you're doing. Just know if we've seen plenty of other people, but know that you inspire me every day. Every time you make a post, I'm inspired. So thank you so much. I was gonna say if no one else, but we know there's plenty other people out there. But no, I am inspired.
Well, thank you. It's good to hear that, because sometimes you get lost in a bubble of social media. So you don't know if you're making an impact, but I appreciate you creating this platform for me to share too.
Thank you.
And other Black women to share as well. That's powerful in itself.
It felt needed, and it was time to put fear down and just do it.
Love it.
But guys, Amber, Allen, Koko, and I'm going to preemptively apologize to Kira and Carla for not doing this on their episodes, as I'm just still getting into the swing of things. But Amber, can you tell everyone where they can find your amazing artwork?
Yes, so you can find me on all platforms: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn at Amber, Amber, Koko with a K, Koko Allen, Allen. And you can check my website out, amberkokoallen.com.
And of course, I'm your host, Tashi J. You can, of course, check me out with my husband, as we are the co-founders of Midnight Comics, at www.midnightcomics.org, which will soon link you to all of our social media. And you can also check me out on all platforms at official_Tashi J. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can find me at Tashi J89 on YouTube and Facebook. And soon my website will be back up, and that is www.tashij.com. TOSHIJ. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Melanin Minds. And remember that a small spark can create a big flame. See you next time.